kind of thing Jonesy from EMTV would say in one of his carefully worked out intro speeches. A defiant nation producing a defiant bike with individuality at its core. Hey up, I'm Guy Kestevan, the Tester Man, and the bike behind me is the Orbea Oiz 120mm XC stroke trail ripper, although definitely more XC in this configuration, from the north of Spain, the Basque country. Fiercely independent, both as an area and as a bike brand. All the bikes are built in-house to order. But yeah, massive thanks to Rob Thorpe for lending me his bike, which has got a custom paint job by his son, ordered through the Orbea custom scheme. Because Orbea, I mean, loads of you wanted me to test this bike, but Orbea were only really interested in sending me e-bikes, and I'd rather get my uphill thrills through my own effort rather than overnight recharge. So I'm going to jump on this two-tone gold beauty and see how it gets on with bullying the trails here at Timble into submission, both on the climbs and the descents. So, start off with the specifics. This team version gets the OMX frame, which is the lightest of the Oiz frames. There's an OMR as well, but this OMX, 1750 grams with shock, according to hello, Orbea, which were just to recent rainfall on that front tyre. So that makes it one of the lightest frames you can buy, especially now Specialized have added weight to their Epic. So you're already off to a very fast and racy start, especially considering this is 120mm travel now, because there used to be 100mm wires, don't even know how to say it, and a 120, but given that XC is getting increasingly rowdy, they've just gone, stuff it, we'll just optimize everything around the 120. So that's what you've got here. And in terms of geometry, optimizing it means 67-degree head angle, 472mm reach on this large, and a 76.5-degree seat tube, which, you know, isn't the slackest front end, but yeah, it's a reasonably progressive set of numbers for an XC bike. And one thing you'll notice straight away when you start pedaling is the anti-squat is pretty high on this bike. So that means the suspension stiffens noticeably under power. Basically, chain tension pulls the back wheel in against the compression, which is great for a really positive response to each pedal press, but does mean you have to kind of be your own torque control. So obviously, as you stiffen the suspension, there's less chance of it rolling over smoothly. But to be fair, I'm a big fan of anti-squat, just because it feels good through the pedals. So rather than kind of sitting on an exercise bike, just spooling away, there's much more connection, ebb and flow to the rear end. So there's more chance of spinning that rear tyre, but also more warning that it's going to happen. And then on the left hand side there, you've got that squid lock shock controller, which gives you 3 modes through the suspension. So you've got open, medium and closed. And the nice thing about medium is, if we give it a click, that firms up the rear for a more positive pedalling feel. You know, less movement at the back end, but leaves the fork fully open. So it's still got that rollover at the front, but also dynamically, you're more nose down with the attitude of the bike. And together with this proper racer's carbon cockpit, which is standard on this model, it's not an upgrade. With a negative rise on the stem and that already relatively steep seat angle, you've got a really efficient climbing bike. And then you can go full rigid as soon as it really flattens out and you need to get a sprint on. So yeah, proper race machine this, in terms of weight, body position and suspension control. And obviously better head down vibe does have implications on the descents, as does having recon race front and rear. So in the current setup, it's definitely got less of a trail vibe than the old Oiz TR. But having said that, well, that rear shock, that little Fox SL, it's definitely a tight little can. And these big chainstays also keep everything aggressively taut. So even with the old school 34 SC up front, you've got a big old mainframe volume as well. So it certainly does not feel like a skinny and noodly bike at all. Placement is actually really good. And then chainstays are pretty short, 437mm. And that is the same across all sizes. So that will change in terms of proportion as you size up and size down, but in this large, it's actually, wow, even that little head angle tuck in there, you know, using that 67, it's actually kind of a really intuitive balance. I mean, narrow bar, 760mm, don't even know what the effective stem length is. Looks about 60. Oh, but until I got hung up there, it was actually putting the wheels exactly where I would have wanted. Definitely more pressure through the bars than a trail setup, but certainly not short on speed through technical descents like that. I'm impressed, Orbea. Basking in its Basque glory at the moment. And even though, you know, this SRAM EXO equipment, the Axis, definitely isn't light. It's very much a trail group rather than XC group. That massive new T-type rear mech. Overall weight for this stock bike at 11.56 without pedals, pretty impressive. And that includes Orbea's own M-Team carbon wheels, which they say around 1550 grams, you know, which is decent weight for a 30mm internal carbon rimmed wheel. But for another 550, you can get the limited version of the wheel with light spokes, light hubs. That takes 200 grams off the package. And there's a load of customization through the Orbea MYO, so my Orbea program, in terms of components and even colours too. So this is a custom colour on this bike that Rob's son actually chose for him. Really nice Kashima take up on it. But the fact I can chat reasonably well coming up here at a fair pace probably tells you everything you need to know about where all your strengths lie in terms of efficient climbing. Right, to get to some perspective, we've got Ryan in front now on the Canyon Spectral, so full-blown trail bike, trail tyres, all that kind of carnivore. But one thing, I set off with the suspension semi-locked, and even while I was chatting to you and losing distance to Ryan, I managed to free it all up. One thing though, this comes with a very short drop seat post as standard, so I have got it dropped, but you'd be hard pressed to notice there's very much still the presence of a saddle. Hey, that's come apart a bit between my legs, which is slightly off-putting, but then, you know, wait. Yeah, it's more about agility, surviving down here at the moment, definitely hopping and popping. But I mean, it's interesting, to be fair, because actually the angles are wildly different to that chisel. In fact, it's actually longer off the top of my head than the chisel Evo I was riding around these exact trails just a few weeks ago. But just having that seat up there and a bit tighter in the XC tyres definitely made a difference down there. Definitely a bit more nervy. I put the saddle down and you couldn't tell.
You're alive?
Yeah, well,
A bit sliding on that one. Yeah, it's greasy.
Yeah, you can see there's still a lot of seat post even with it down. Yeah. Oh, say hello to Neil as well. He was laughing. That's who you heard laughing his ass off behind me.
Yeah, some good entertainment.
As I sketched.
First trail, I just parked in Timble. Oh, right, okay.
Interesting. Oh. Yeah, I nearly parked in Timble as well down there. One thing I would say with this squid lock, although the lever placement's actually really ergonomic, and just having two levers is a big advantage over the sort of barbecue tongs set you get on the Scott Spark to do a very similar job. There's no release lever, so from medium you can't just release to open. You have to go to full and then back off again. You know, which isn't a major chore, but because all the cables are headset routed, definitely feels like more compromised pull on them, and it feels stiff even though this is relatively young bike that's been well looked after. And it's definitely, I think, getting an advantage getting a wireless on here, because I think you'd notice that with cables in the gearing as well. But at least you got wireless options from SRAM and Shimano now. But obviously, you know, it looks super neat. I've got the little cheek inserts. Well, I'll do a full workshop talk around as well where we can see the details. But, you know, it is a maintenance mess. That through the headset, cable routing, brake routing, you know, anything you want to do, anytime you need to replace the headset bearings, all the controls are going to have to come out and then be replugged back in again, which your mechanic is not going to love you for. But then it's actually pretty well priced, so you've got a few more tokens to spend with your local shop if you can't face doing the servicing yourself. It's not as cheap as direct bikes like Canyon Lux Trail or that Decathlon I reviewed recently, which is very, very similar, although I'd definitely say this feels like a more open shock feel than that Decathlon. That was really tight. and terse and never really opened up. Even deeper into the travel, it's very, very efficient, proper pure racer. But you know, the dropped carbon bar and the short head tube and everything. I think the Geo is very similar too. That's very similar, but what Orbea have done on this bike is, while it has got a lot of anti-squat at the start, it's quite a digressive leverage curve. So once you're into the stroke, once you kind of got through that crisp top note, it opens up and gets a lot more plush deeper into the stroke. And another nice thing, I like the fact, as a race bike, they've set it up around a 34 tooth chainring as standard. Because otherwise, chainring size can actually make quite a lot of difference to the effective anti-squat of the bike, because it changes where the chain line is in comparison to the main pivot. And obviously that 34 tooth chainring is exactly what your gear mashing muscle Mary XC riders are going to want for that maximum speed. It will actually go up to 38 if you really want to go chase Schurter down the finishing line. Oh, and speaking of 34s, this is, because it's slightly older bike, this is the older generation 34 SC U-bikes. Get the 34 SL, which is a glorious fork, absolutely gorgeous fork, way more control than it has any right to have. But even this, I'm properly enjoying taking liberties with these tyres and the lines, and I can feel Ryan's right on me. Sheriff's badge down here. But between the fact the tyres slide really easily and the front end dips nicely and it's light enough to hop and pop while still having a fairly centralised position for good foot placement, I don't know how quick I'm going, but it certainly feels quick. Yep, that tyre pop from the Big Maxes tells me that Ryan's grip is keeping him right where he wants to be, waiting for me to bin it. But again, even that anti-squat down here means you're feeling the suspension more through your feet, which is a little more fatiguing. But when it comes to little pop accelerations like that, little pop and hop, you feel much more connected to the bike. And certainly personally, I feel more committed to keeping the power down, keeping the speed up, because it feels like the bike's involved in that charge more as well. Who knew psychological effects of anti-squat could be so over-egged on twisty single track like this? Come on, Recon Race, hang in there. It's only a small gap, but we've got one. Well, it's quite tough on the thighs though, but when you just commit to the straight line, it carries through really well, even if there is some chain tug. I mean, basically what you've hopefully got from that is this is a really fun bike to hassle and hustle through checky single track. Oh god, that shifter placement is awful. That was mint. And again, it's so light and so pedal positive that if you just go shit and you bop on speed through that section, Hit it, and off it goes.
Good.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Cheers for the intimidation inspiration, mate.
Yeah, it was good.
Cheers. Boom. I'm just on a classic bit of XC rolling there, and really brought home that, you know, this bike is very tight, considering how light this frame is. You know, when I think about other 1700 or lower gram frames I've ridden, because this must be about 1500 and a few without the shocking, which isn't hyper light. That's like old Merida 96, that kind of caper. And you know, the accuracy gets in. And it's super impressive. Oh no, need to have another go at that. That needs to be cleaned. Go on, Ryan. Yes, mate. Ha. Damn it. Thanks, Neil. That makes me feel better. Neil's putting on down for the team. Right, come on. What gear was that?
4.
Yeah, same as mine.
4.
Same as mine, you little sod.
Are you going for it again?
Ovs? Right. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, well saved.
Yeah, well saved.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm now a bit nervous about Rob's paintwork. All right. Oh, no.
It's a no.
It's a no. Thank you for polite audience. Damn it.
You didn't do it.
Yeah. You can watch it all on YouTube. So is that where I start blaming the really firm compression tune on the fork and the fact there is a lot of anti-squat in the frame, or do I just write it off as my ineptitude? Because you know, there's always pros and cons, right? And genuinely a more neutral suspension system would probably have found grip when I stuck the power down, but for the rest of the time this bike feels absolutely, actually it just feels like it really properly pops. That's what I like about it. Not the smoothest, not the most neutral, but that's what I really like about it. It's really engaging. Oh, thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. That really rewards you, having a bit of a pop and a play and a skip through. Rather than just sitting there and being docile. It's a proper dynamic rider's bike. Feisty, defiant, like the country that made it. It's the kind of thing Jonesy from EMTV would say in one of his carefully worked out intro speeches. A defiant nation producing a defiant bike with individuality at its core. He is Welsh, by the way. That wasn't meant to be a Basque accent. Although interestingly, if you go back to the Celtic countries, there's a lot of similarity between Basque, Celtic, Ireland, Wales, Brittany and Cornwall in the prehistoric period. So yeah, if you like your fast bikes feisty, this is a great one. Plus you can have whatever colours you want.
painted on it. So yeah, I think we've kind of defined the ride characteristics. So the next thing to do is get it in the workshop, talk about the finer details, because there are a lot of very neat details in terms of pivots, little mud flaps, all the things that really make a difference to long-term ownership. So we'll have a look at them in a workshop where we can get up close and personal with it. But for now, for all those people wanting me to review the Oiz and say how it compares to other bikes in this category, I'd say closest, I would say, is a Spanish Scott Spark. I do feel guilty saying Spanish, but basically a Scott Spark with external shock mounting, slightly lighter frame weight, and if you look at RRP, then similar value too. The only trouble with Scott Sparks at the moment is, in terms of comparing them on value, most of them are half price. This would be an excellent marathon bike with its low weight, natural speed, that plenty of anti-squat kick on all those lockouts for mixed terrain sections. That slightly old school feel about it, because the way it lifts and kicks around, that's going to really appeal to the old school guys as well. Well, there's still definitely enough fight and bite in it to let the young guns properly push too. I think basically, I think it's a real sweet spot. It gives you that extra travel and confidence without taking away from that raw speed feel that people really want from this category of bike. You know, they don't want necessarily heavy and neutral. They want occasionally nasty, but for the return of really obviously enhanced velocity. Right, it's finally starting to rain here, so I'll wrap this up quickly. But thanks massively to Rob for lending me his bike. Hopefully I've managed to get it back to him without scratching it, and so, you know, because it is a gorgeous looking bike. I mean, it absolutely looks the part. I think pretty much everyone will agree. And it totally rides the part as well. I know, I personally absolutely love that kind of increased anti-squat. I think the suspension feel really, really suits it. It's got that tight off the top sort of, but then sort of easy flow through the centre. I mean, there's enough support to corner and everything. It drifts really well. Feels like you can really stamp it through the corners, but it's not slapping and feeling constipated like a lot of bikes can with just a 45mm stroke on. But then it really pops when you're pedaling. And the whole bike just pops. It's super agile and lively, which is amazing considering that cockpit setup on it, because that's pretty damn radical. And as is that, you know, that's an aggressive fork as well. So, and the weight and the stiffness to weight is absolutely outstanding. That is one hell of a frame. I mean, that little fibre link there, like I say, there's going to be a workshop talk round, but I mean, it just looks super neat. That little fibre link rocker in there. Even things like that eye-line shock has got a specific inline remote cable setup. So again, you know, it's a bit compromised going through the head tube. I think that's my biggest beef with it. Otherwise, I think I'm quite confident saying this is my favourite cross-country bike I've ridden in terms of pure cross-country, because I think the Specialized Epic is brilliant, you know, and I like the fact that that has internal storage and stuff, but for pure XC race, for that minimal weight, maximum efficiency drive, I think this is absolutely spot on. What do you reckon, Jay? I think Jay agrees. So yeah, from me, Jay, and the Orbea Oiz, whatever it's called. I mean, yeah, and customization. There's loads to talk about on this, which we'll go through in the workshop. But for now, massive thanks for coming along for the ride with me, Ryan, Neil, and Jay. And subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. That'd be great, because we're on 40k subscribers now, but that's only 40% of the people who watch. So in theory, we could be on 100k subscribers if everybody who watched subscribed. Go on. It's only a click, and I won't bother you with emails, I promise. And then click for notifications so we know when that workshop video and all the other stuff comes out. Give it a thumbs up like, tell your mates about the channel, tell them that Kez has finally got himself an Oiz to test. And obviously if you want more comparisons, I talked a little bit about comparisons with other bikes in this video, but if you want more head-to-head kind of comparisons, then we can talk about that in the comments. And anything else you want to know, get busy in there. And if you really like what I'm doing on the channel, then please consider subscribing on Patreon or giving me a gift via YouTube. But for now, I've been Guy Kesterman on Guy Kest TV, talking about the seriously impressive Iberian rocket ship that is the Orbea Oiz.